Hi everyone! Welcome to this week's episode of Cooking with Mona and Mish. Today we're going to be making Safiheh. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
yes.
Right. Good job.
So thank you. Basically it's like a mini Arabic pizza and it has beef in it and pine cones. I mean
pine nuts.
Pine nuts.
But
do you still add them?
Yeah, we add them, but they're so expensive. And they disappeared for a while from Costco. Last week, actually, I saw them, but they were like double the price, so I did not buy them. But I buy, sometimes I buy them from Trader Joe's. They're more reasonable, cheaper price. So yeah, so pine nuts is optional, but it's of course, it's more delicious if you add them. Now we're going to show you how we're going to make it.
And we're going to make it with two different types. One using the traditional dough, like we make the dough from scratch. And the other one is much easier, is to use tortilla bread. So I use the Street Taco size and they came really perfect. Of course, this is flour tortilla, not the corn tortilla. And for the third way, I used Uncooked Tortilla. Which was really good because I was able to cut it to the size that I like and prefer. And honestly, all of them were delicious. For the ingredients, we use 5 medium tomatoes and 1 large onions and salt, spices, and beef and pomegranate molasses and a little bit oil. And here the tomatoes came to about 4 cups. 2 of the cups I chopped them by hand and 2 in the food processor. And then the onions here came about 1 1/4 cup and I squeezed the juice out of it. I don't throw away the juice. I usually keep it in the freezer for other uses when I want to marinate some chicken. For the spices, we have 3½ teaspoons of Himalayan salt, 1 tablespoon of allspice, or you can use 7 spice, 1 tablespoon of ground coriander, and 1½ teaspoons of black pepper. We used 1 pound of beef. This beef needs to be some fat. It has like 20% fat. Here is 2 tablespoons of pomegranate molasses. You can buy it from the Middle Eastern store. And this is optional, is 1 green chili. This is spicy, or you can use like sweet pepper, green pepper. And also here another optionals, which is 2 tablespoons of pine nuts. Now here we add all the ingredients over the beef. So we have here the tomatoes. We have the roughly chopped tomatoes and the one with the machine. Then the onions and the spices. This is the allspice and the coriander, ground coriander. And then here is the salt and the black pepper. Here is the pomegranate molasses. And this is the optional chilies, green chilies, and the pine nuts. We wear a glove and we mix them all together. You need to knead them for about a couple of minutes. Then I put it in the fridge and let it rest for a minimum of half an hour. And now here is the dough when it's ready. The recipe for the dough, I'm going to put for you the link below. I used it in a different video. So in the description box below, I'll put for you the link. Then here we deflate the dough from the air a little bit, just gently. And then we cut it to small balls to the size you like. Then we cover it with a kitchen towel till we finish, and we let it rest for 15 minutes. Now here is the beef mixture. I like to taste it, so I try a little bit. I put it on a foil, and then I put it on in the toaster or in the oven, and I'll cook it and I taste it, or you can just put it in a frying pan a little bit with a little bit oil on the stove. But I always like to taste, make sure we have the spices and the salt is good. And here after I cooked it and I tasted it. And it was perfect. I did not need anything. But if you see like you like it more salty, you can add more salt. And then here I drained it. So the juice, you want all the juice to go out from it when you put it on the dough. And here I used my electrical pasta roller so I can have the dough really thin. You don't have to use it, you can just do it by hand. And I put here some flour, but I really did not need any flour because it did not stick on the counter. Of course, I cleaned the counter very well, and so then I put the dough and rolled it. It was very flexible and very easy to roll. This dough recipe is really very perfect for this Safiheh. And then after that, I also put it on in the roller to make it also thinner. But as I said, this is optional step. Then here I finished all the dough in the pan. Then I started adding the beef mixture there. And here I push the beef mixture on the dough, and make sure you wanna push it good so it sticks with the dough. And then I let it rest for 15 minutes before baking it. Meanwhile, the oven was heated to the highest temperature, about 450 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 230 degrees Celsius. And usually you need to put it in the middle of the middle rack of your oven, but I don't have a middle rack, so that is my really middle rack. And usually it takes about 11 minutes, depends on your oven. And here when it's done, I'll cool it on the rack, and you can eat it either warm or a little bit room temperature with plain yogurt. Really yummy. And then here is the other way. This is the Street Tacos Tortillas that I used with the small size. Really, that was the perfect size for this. So I put oil on the parchment paper on the pan. So you want both the bottom and the top of the tortilla scrubbed with oil, cooking oil. So it's important to put it on both sides. Then here we add the beef, and we make sure we want to push it down really tight on the tortilla. And then we put it on the broiler on the oven at the lower rack of your oven and bake it for 8 minutes. And then when it's done, I put it to cool on the rack. And here it is, really looked very nice and tasted really yummy. Everybody loved it. You couldn't tell that it is a tortilla not made from scratch. And the third way, I used uncooked tortilla, and I cut it to the size that I like. So I brought a pan with the parchment paper, and I added some oil on the parchment paper and I rubbed it. And then at this time, made sure I turned on the oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 230 degrees Celsius. And then I brought the dough, I put it on a plate and I covered it so it doesn't get dry. And then I took each one and I rubbed it with oil because tortilla, when they make it, they don't add oil to it, but the dough for the Safiheh or Lahm Biajeen, it always have dough into it. So I rubbed both sides very well, be a little bit generous with the oil, and then I want to cut it to the size that I like. So I used this size of cutter, and I cut it for every tortilla to 3 pieces. Of course, you can do it larger size, or you can even don't cut it. You can just put it on the whole tortilla. It's up to you. But for like parties, you know, it's good to have it small size. And then I put it in the pan, and now then I added the meat mixture on it, and I pushed it down. Really, you have to push it down really well, so the meat needs to stick with the dough. Okay. And here the pan is ready to be baked. Now I placed it in the oven. You need to put it in the middle rack. And it took 14 minutes to get ready. Of course, every oven is different. And here I took it out, and you can see here is the back of it. Also, it looks good. So here it's a close picture of it. It really tasted yummy, and it tasted crunchy when I took it out of the oven. But some of them, I covered them with a kitchen towel, so they became soft. So if you like them soft, then you cover them with a towel. If you like them crunchy, then you will need just to cool them on a rack, okay? Then when they're completely cool, then you can cover them and store them. Of course, you need to store them in the fridge because you have beef. I hope you guys can try these recipes, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Bye.